Hi Sophie.
Hello.
Today we're in Dover today, and we're doing something that I found a really interesting piece of history on, which pertains to the foot tunnel that is behind us. Now obviously if you've seen my channel before, you'll probably get an idea of what this was probably used for. In fact, you'll probably get a clue maybe from the title of the video itself. There's a tiny little bit of information on it. We're going to walk through and we're going to sort of describe really what would have been sort of taking place in there. We will see on the other side. I've just said we're in Dover, aren't we? At Crabble Avenue. So if you ever want to visit this, just walk through the foot tunnel. I'm sure most of you in Dover have, but you probably didn't realise the history and historical importance of this. But now you're about to find out. Come on. Well, hello everybody, welcome back. We're going to talk about what we're in today, which is namely a foot tunnel for Crabble Avenue in Dover. Sorry if it's got a bit dark. We've got a torch, but I'm not really sure it's going to sort of do a huge amount. If we look behind us. So, let me just sort of paint a picture for you. During World War II, sorry, forgive me on that one, brain dead. During World War II, in 1941 to be precise, what happened was that they decided that due to the amount of Dover potentially being bombarded with shells and obviously air raids, I mean Dover's history is well documented during World War II because of that, what they decided was to requisition as many sort of shelters or pre-existing sites that could be turned into shelters. One of them in 1941 was this, which is the foot tunnel which goes right underneath the main line, the Dover main line. And what they did was they would have put sandbags at either end, and then it would have held 43 people. So let's carry on walking right to the end, and we'll talk some more about it. Kind of thinking it's quite difficult to film with lots of people keep using this, which is lovely, but it's also having to sort of pause in between, so we're doing the best as possible, but we're giving you the history of it. But the point is, what would have happened was that it proves how vulnerable Dover was during World War II and the fact they had to do this. Now if you've seen in older videos, which I will put links to, we'll walk in and then we'll come back a little bit, so I think if you check out links below, Gravesend and Northfleet did exactly the same, where they requisitioned foot tunnels to be turned into air raid shelters. Basically, all you're doing is you're just literally putting sandbags at either end. And then the idea is it protects, but because we've got a very specific number of about 43 people, that's roughly what it would have sustained. So the idea is that really the families, the local families around this area, would have been using this. So if we turn round, you can obviously see the main line going over. Again, if you're local to Dover, you know this really well, but what I love about this is it's another piece of World War II history that not many people, I can imagine, actually sort of were aware of, the facts of its actual use and its purpose. It's, as a piece of construction, it's absolutely beautiful. Here's a train coming over now, look at this. Good timing. High speed one, yeah. You can't see that in the video, but you can hear the noise, everybody. So yeah, it's just nice to sort of do something on Phoenix history that we always try to pride ourselves on, which is trying to give you really unusual and different pieces of history that not many people would sort of be aware of and stuff. And actually, to be honest with you, the record of this was actually really wonderful because of how precise it was. So what we're going to do is we're going to properly walk back, and then you just get a feel of it, and we'll sort of talk you through what you probably would have expected whilst you're in there. Come on. So we're now going to sort of talk you roughly through what Brewer the setup would have been. So at either end of this, we would have probably encountered some sandbags. And the idea was that sandbags, in theory, would have just sort of used as sort of like a little bit of like a blast protection sort of thing. So it's quite possible you would have had to have sort of gone in and round and in. And then as we enter, the idea then is that obviously you might not have had bunks on this because this still would have been used as a foot tunnel. So let's not sort of surmise for that. And I'm not going to say something that, obviously, as I've always said on this channel, I'm not going to say something I don't feel confident enough in saying. It's not to say there might not have been bunks in here, but because this was a civil and very specific use, because you could still use this as a tunnel, effectively, that really in this purpose, it's probably more likely that the locals probably would have had something to sit down on and stuff like this, but really I think it was down to their own personal sort of comfort as to what they probably would have used. And like we said before, then you would have had sandbags at the opposite end of this, like I said, catered for around 42 people, which, as Sophie rightly said, doesn't seem that many.
It's a weird number.
It's a weird number.
Very specific.
It's very specific. But you would have had a surveyor come over, probably would have checked for the surveying side of things. We've talked about this before on the channel, where in Tunbridge, for example, if people have been familiar with my channel, we did a film on Tunbridge where the basement was requisitioned, and the idea was surveyors would have come over, seen the structural nature of it, would it have been used for fit for purpose, let's just sort of say. And because we're not we're in Dover, but we're not in like central Dover, it's actually, this is really just used as a sort of more of a, literally what it is, a civilian shelter, should you have felt the need to sort of like come in here. If you had a basement, for example, and you didn't feel safe enough in there, or your own air raid shelter, you would have come in here. But the positive thing of this is that you would have had more of a communal feel. You would have met your neighbours, sit, cup of tea, chat, etc., etc. You would have felt relatively safe in here. I would have felt. I mean, it's quite, in times like this, actually, believe it or not, it's probably got more of an unnerving vibe to it, in the fact that you don't really want to come down on a dark night these days. But during World War II, it probably would have been a different vibe. And the fact that it's got a very London underground feel to how rough and scrappy it is, in terms of like even the light sources are really dodgy and they're just, but it's just nice to sort of talk about something like this in terms of what it's formally used for. And I've got to admit, I mean, me and Sophie discussed this, as tunnels go, foot tunnels, this is definitely, I think it's really pretty. I actually think it's really, really pretty. And sorry for not sort of shedding enough light on us and it being a little bit dark, but I think you get the idea. I mean, like I said, it's beautiful. So, do you want to get the old torch and just show us one more time on that bit? Because I love this two-step level phase here. Look at that, everybody. So the idea is it drops down, and then you've got a second phase of the shelter. But we do know that that section especially would have been used definitely as the air raid shelter, like I said, for 42 people, because really that section, this whole sort of corner really would have pre-facilitated that. I'm a little bit sort of, it's because of this design, obviously it's a little bit different these days, but the fact that that section, what we're looking at right in front of us, would have been used as a shelter, absolutely beautiful and stunning. Well worth a nice one. Well, look. We're just going to sort of walk you through it one more time, just have a little walk so we get to sort of like document it as best as possible, and then we'll just say goodbye. Come on in. Well, everybody, that was the interesting but brief story of a former, a foot tunnel that was requisitioned into a World War II air raid shelter in 1941 in Dover. Please check out Soph's Instagram page and link below, but more importantly, for a change, check out the two videos, Northfleet's one and also Gravesend's one that had been requisitioned and changed over. So check those two videos down below. They're quite old videos now, so I do apologise for the quality of them. Any more words of Phoenix history? Thank you so much, Sophie, for coming along with me. Take care, because history matters, and it just does, doesn't it? Ready? Kapow.